something else that I think business owners get caught up on, and sometimes I think the employees within an organization get caught up on this. People get nervous to talk about issues, and our culture is one where it took us a second to get there, but we are very comfortable with talking about issues. It is part of our every week, non-negotiable, that we have our meeting, and part of that, the bulk of it is identifying what issues we're having. And we still struggle with this often, but giving our employees the ability or the courage to be able to say, hey, this is something I'm struggling with, this is something that we need to get better at, and we want to discuss and solve this problem. And so issues are what I believe are the only things between where you're at and where you want to go. I heard somebody tell me that one time, and it stuck with me. I just remember how he said it and when he said it. He said, if you're here and you want to be there, the things that are between here and there are the issues that you're going to come in contact with, and the only way for you to get there is to have a great system on identifying, discussing, and solving those issues.
Things you're avoiding.
Yeah, and I think the sooner that an organization becomes comfortable with discussing those things and creates a process around those is what's going to allow you to actually get to start accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And so, we do that again at our weekly meeting every week, and you do a great job at this. So I think you should talk about how you've kind of created that expectation within our title company on bringing issues to the meetings.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big part about it is kind of what you were just saying about being open to it helps cultivate people's participation in it. Not only that, but it helps cultivate or normalize and then becomes more habitual to actually look for them, right? Like proactively look for them.
Yeah.
And that is because when you find a solution to a problem, the best type of solution is one that eliminates the problem entirely, right? So that's not an issue anymore. And not like, hey, how are we going to address this same problem over and over again? It's how can we eliminate the problem entirely? And so one of the easy ways for us to do it, and we have a very good setting for it, and like Lauren, you've mentioned earlier about exercising the muscle and making sure that you've got that good rapport. On our weekly meeting, we say, hey, look, everyone on the team has to, input at least one issue that they've run into over this past week. There's an unlimited number of issues that you can put on there, obviously, but we want everyone to contribute to that. Because, hey, everyone's voice matters. Everyone looks at things a different way. And it just helps with the productivity of the conversation. Where did you see it from? How are you looking at it? What were the details? Okay, that's good. Now let's take it a step further and say, out of that context, what if it were this other variable were in place, et cetera, et cetera. And you can build a very broad defense, or not defense, but just a very broad way of creating efficiencies, right? Because you're being proleptic about it, you're being proactive about it. And not only is it going to help in terms of your processes and your systems from an efficiency standpoint, but it is fun to have those conversations. We had a great one this morning, right? I mean, like where we tackled a whole lot of issues, and it was not all the meetings are like this. Sometimes some people are tired, this, that, the other, right? There's always some productivity there. But when you're hitting it at all cylinders and you're really attacking the issues and the problems from just a group collective standpoint, we're gonna get a better product when we all participate in what we're in that conversation. It feels good,
Collaborative
and you
success.
get good stuff out of it.
And that was one of the things I wanted to make sure you hit on, was that the fact that we're not relying on the four of us to solve every one of our problems.
Yeah.
And the collective problem solving that we've created. Some of the issues that people bring up, we don't know how to solve.
Right.
And we don't see them because we're not doing the task every day. But a lot of times our staff who puts the issues on the issues list will come up with the solution, get feedback from the group, and they will solve the problem that we don't, so we don't have to be the ones doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's whenever you have a business that is operating and not solely relying on.
Even if I have one of our team members come to me with a problem and a solution, I'll say, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Put it on the issue list and we'll talk about it. So that way we're not solving the problem and then having to pass it around and then get feedback, say, well, that's not going to work because of this. We can just wait and do it all. And
that's what I was going to speak to. It's a personality type that wants to solve things quickly and do it themselves. And there's a beauty behind it. And they think that they're helping everyone by not bringing it. But you truly have to train them because, one, Y'all know that statement. It's, not what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. One, you want the feedback from others in case there's something that you do not know that it's going to impact. But two, even if you go and solve that problem quickly, don't bring anybody in, and you did it perfectly, you now have to then go back and train everybody on it anyway. So the collaborative learning aspect of it truly does create efficiency. So like I get the luxury of sitting in on all the meetings. And so it's funny to see the different personality types. And it is more of a challenge to get certain personality types like that we have in the law department that aren't just going and solving them and walking in an office, getting an answer and not putting it on there, or feeling that they are bothering everybody by putting it on there because not every single person in the meeting needs to deal with it. But again, you're training everyone every single time that you have that issue. You're creating that environment of teamwork and open collaboration, and you're able to one-on-one tell somebody through that problem solving that you need to adjust this, you need to change that, and for people to feel comfortable. Because how many times have you had an employee create a leadership issue for you because they're like, hey, I want you to know so-and-so's doing this, but don't tell them that I told you. Like if somebody's coming to you and saying that in your environment, then it's like, okay, we're not in the right environment. Right? We need to fix something. So let's all talk about it together. Oh, it's going to be telltale. No, that's what we do here.
Yeah.
Because no one's getting in trouble. Who's going to get in trouble?
Right.
We're just all
Yeah,
going to talk
right,
about it
right,
together.
right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like you said, you go from that happening to, hey, she goes and talks to her herself. And then they handle it on their own and bring the solution to the team. Like that's winning in that open communication where no one feels threatened because we're all growing together.
Yeah, it's not a principal. You're not. It's never a principal's office. It's a think tank, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And look, I think it's important to say, like, you're not only discussing issues is important, but having a system in which you discuss the issues, because the meeting is important because not only does it have a place to park those issues, it doesn't cause people to solve problems without the whole team being a part of it, and people feel like they're just going to carry the burden of solving all the problems, but it also prevents the disruption of business throughout the week.
Yeah.
Because if it's not a burning issue and you park it on the issues, let's talk about it at your meeting every week, you're not solving problems throughout your day and putting out fires to where you can actually get your priorities done, solve the problem at the weekly meeting, and you're not walking down the hall and somebody grabbing you and saying, hey, I have this problem you need to solve. And the next person you see, I have this problem you need to solve. So it allows you to get your work done efficiently and solve problems consistently, but continue to move forward by systematically doing it and not just being comfortable solving problems, but solving problems in a systematic way.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Because I mean, it's good to see people get excited about wanting to do something. Hey, I've got this. It's almost like an opportunity, to solve a challenge, right? To solve a riddle. And again, that's a great attitude to have. But if it's something that's non-priority, and if you're like me and easily distracted, I will be easily distracted by that. So I have to have a certain level of discipline to say, hey, yes, let us put it in that place so that we can get a better conversation about it. Period. But yeah, not only do you have to have the landscape of a place to park it and having a good forum in which to meet, but you have to be able to, I think, consider. Sometimes you have to prompt other people, right? You have to, because there are those people who have that energy that's coming to you with stuff, and let's do this, that, now, and obviously you have to treat that a different way than you would somebody who's seeing problems that they're not bringing them to you because now they think they're bothering you, like we were talking about earlier, which is a more, both of them can be problems, so to speak, right? But what I think that's very important is the encouragement, and you said that earlier, is encouraging people to have the courage to do this X, Y, and Z, which is huge, because I've been in settings before, in work settings, where it's like maybe I feel like I'm an imposter or something, whatever the case might be, where you're just too timid or just for whatever reason, lack of experience, whatever the case might be, where you don't speak up. And that's what's cool about us being here. And again, it not being like a principal office tattletale situation. It's like, no, everyone is here. Everyone's got a voice. And we're not going to force you to be uncomfortable, but, know that you will over time inherently develop it if you're going to stay here and if you fit here, right? And I've seen that with someone on my team, which is like, and we've talked about over the months of, not being the most vocal person at first, totally understandably, 100%. If I were in that same exact position with that experience, right, I would feel the exact same way and I would operate the same way. And it's so cool to see how the development and like just the buy-in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now it's just like, oh my gosh, right. And so you got to develop that, and I think that's one of the most fun back is peeling back the onion layers and
Yeah, watching them develop and succeed.
yeah,
too.
the person
It's
and the
awesome.
system, right? It's the same. It's the same thing.
I think
And
the sooner you can get solve problems, the sooner that you're actually running a business that can operate without you.
Yeah.
And I would say one of the pro tips, if you're trying to get your team to do that and you have someone that's new that may not be able to spot issues yet,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you have to have a knowledge base and an understanding to even spot an issue. Like that's
Yeah.
a talent that some people just possess,
Yeah.
right? So if you have somebody that's not there, still have them bring some opportunity to every meeting. So force that opportunity. Do you have something that you're working on that's really difficult and you don't know what the next step is? Let's talk about what that is, right? Bring your hard cases if you don't know how to bring something that's on the business, bring your in the business. Or if you learn something new this week, rather than waiting for everybody else to learn it, come teach us, right? Learning opportunity. So again, you say it's issues because you're spotting, you're really identifying something that you want to bring to everybody else. Sometimes that identifying object is an opportunity or a piece of education as well.